Hello and welcome to Honest Hours. Real people, real conversation, talking about the things that you need to know. Today, we're going to be talking about the Iran war. So, today is April 9th, 2026, and NBC News is reporting that the Strait of Hormuz is still at a standstill after Iran and the United States decided to call a ceasefire for 2 weeks with hopes that the strait would open and lower oil prices. Obviously, we're seeing that it's not. Ceasefire really hasn't done anything. Yesterday on Wednesday, I believe it was the Prime Minister of Iran claimed that the U.S. was breaking the ceasefire. How are we feeling about this? Are we thinking that gas prices are going to go down anytime soon? What are you guys seeing?
I don't think so. No, I think this is going to be much, much longer. Um,
Well, from what I heard, it's basically the gas prices went down immediately after the ceasefire to like $90. And then this morning it went up to like 100 and some. I haven't seen it since I heard that. So,
exactly.
Yeah, NBC is reporting that the markets opened this morning. Oil had kind of dropped, and then around close it hit above $100 a barrel. Which I mean, this is a lot bigger of an issue than people realize because with being above $100 a barrel, the average gas price today was $4.16 nationwide. Uh, from a year ago today, a year ago was $3.24. It's almost a dollar more. How
well, that just goes to show how fast oil goes up and your oil commodities backed up.
hmm Market manipulation. And it's kind of scary how we have a situation where we're told, hey, there's no more war and we're completely fine. However, in the next few hours, we hear from our opposing enemy that that's a complete lie. So I'm not too sure why we're saying we're in peace talks.
Well, I
when the-
mean, basically what happened is Israel started attacking Lebanon real hard. So then they reclosed the strait as a response to Israel bombing Lebanon because Lebanon was
Oh,
supposed to be part of the ceasefire.
yes, no, I should have clarified that. I was talking about like way earlier. I think it was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
last, but like it's been a constant thing I've been seeing with Trump specifically. And then I don't know the gentleman's name from Iran, the new whoever, but I just heard that he made an announcement saying that that was complete larceny or just not right. So, do you guys know what would be the best interest as to why they'd be saying we have a ceasefire, targets go up, and then they go back down?
well, I we could take it from a purely cynical, it's only market manipulation being used to make the richer rich. I don't think it's that easy, and I don't think that it's that conspiracy heavy. I think it's genuinely that the US was trying to buff their chest. They looked at Iran, and Trump on Sunday night on Easter said, "We're going to get rid of an entire civilization." And when everybody around him is like, "Hey, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what are you doing? Like, you started this war for no reason, and you're going to annihilate an entire country."
Yeah.
They had to back down, which they did before the 48 hours he gave them, and they went into
Mhm.
peace talks. And I mean, my best guess is now Iran's trying to buff their chest out, and they're saying the ceasefire is no good. The U.S. violated it, which I don't think the U.S. did. I think you're right. I think it was Israel because it
It
seems like
Yeah.
was, yeah.
it seems like it's been Israel this entire time.
Well, Israel still wants the war. Plus, I think the UAE, from what I heard, still wants this war to go on because, and then the GCC countries can't allow Iran to, tax the strait. So it's kind of like they now are like we're in a need to have a war in Iran to regime change. So it's like the United States has put itself in a rock and a hard place. It's kind of like, well, we can either give the Strait of Hormuz over to Iran and let them do what they will, in which case that will kind of like charging a toll through a strait, which could potentially lead to other countries being like, hey, we've got this thing next to us that a lot of people use. Let's make a toll there. So it could cause a lot of problems. So I mean, it's just kind of just going out of control, in a manner of speaking.
Yeah, I don't love the U.S. regime change argument just because, like, so were you guys familiar? A few weeks leading up to this entire thing, there were the student protests and riots in Tehran.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, the big thing that they were going, oh my God, there's huge protests. They're killing
They
a gazillion amount of people. Oh my God.
they were burning down the government buildings. I mean, if for the most part, I mean, even Trump came out and said we support the students. If you kill any of the students protesting, the U.S. will get involved. And Iran started killing the students, and then the U.S. didn't do anything.
Well, also you got to remember the students were, or the people were also getting armed by Israel and the U.S. to go kill some, you know, Iranian security officials. So, I mean, it's kind of like how much of it was basically, a manipulation to try to create a rebellion or an uprising to try to
And I,
create a regime change in Iran, and how much
yeah.
was it real? I mean, because you can't really trust neither government. I mean, I know
Mhm.
Israel was the ones that were saying, yeah, we were doing this. Trump, I think, on Fox News like a couple days ago said, yeah, we gave guns to the Kurds. So it's just like, so like everybody was saying we were basically fomenting this thing. And then
Exactly.
you know, obviously, totalitarian governments or whatever you want to call it, it's not going to be like, yeah, we're going to take this people killing our people lying down. So obviously,
Yeah,
murder.
it's a
It's
totalitarian government, but at the like truest form, it's just
a secular government, yeah.
yeah, it's a
Or
secular
yeah,
Muslim or Islamic fundamentalist government.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
I was
mean,
gonna
but
mention.
it's
Oh,
more of
sorry.
a
Go ahead.
hardline government. It's not like a what we have over here, which is kind of a democracy. So
Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't. Sorry, I'm bad at Anyway, I was gonna mention back in early '80s, didn't we have a regime change through the CIA where they later admitted that they were arming him and mafia style, which
like, you mean
later that one was later overthrown. Right.
The Iran Contra? That was basically, if you want to talk about Iran, the Great Britain and the U.S. overthrew Iran back in the 50s and
Mhm.
put the Shah in charge.
Yes,
And
that one.
then basically he rolled up until the 70s, which he got overthrown, which is where you created the Iran hostage crisis.
Yeah.
So, which basically tanked whoever the president was at the time. I can't think of the name at the top of my head. So that kind of led the way to Ronald Reagan coming in. And Reagan basically did the hostages back, made a deal to where he would give them arms, in which create, in exchange for the hostages. So the Iran Contra controversy that happened in the 90s, also or 80s, and then also Iraq and Iran were at war, and so obviously that's why we were giving them weapons, and I think Israel was giving Israel. I think Israel was giving Iran weapons, but we were giving weapons to Iraq, or we were giving weapons to both of them so that they can go and kill each other. So
Uh,
and then you had that happen.
mhm.
So yeah, and then obviously everything happened after that. With Iraq 1 and 2, et cetera, and now Iran kind of the checklist of all the Israeli countries they want to be dealt with in the Middle East for their hegemony.
Yeah, which I mean, it none of these conflicts are going to be over anytime soon because as long as there's a war, Netanyahu's not going to be charged for war crimes. As long as he doesn't have time to be pulled away from being it, is it technically the president or do they call it the prime minister there? It
They have
Prime
a
Minister.
president and a prime minister.
Yeah.
okay, and he is the prime minister, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
and
as
he's
long
in
as he's
charge.
not removed from power, there he can't be charged with war crimes. Or they won't allow him to be charged with war crimes.
Well, he's not going to be charged with war crimes because we're not going to allow him to be charged with war crimes.
Yeah,
And
wasn't
who's
it
going to
last
be?
year we made a statement that we were not going to allow Benjamin Netanyahu to be intercepted. I know that the EU body, I know there was a statement saying that they wanted to extradite him and charge him for genocide. Mason, sorry, Monk, do
Oh,
you know that?
I know. Yeah, somebody was trying to charge him with genocide. I forget exactly which country it was.
Well, didn't we sanction that person? We basically were like, "Oh, you came to this conclusion that it's a genocide." Well, I guess you're going to be sanctioned personally.
Yeah,
So
Exactly.
we
Yep.
said, hey, that's our
yeah,
friend. Fuck you. Like you're the bad
yeah,
Mhm.
guy, which is
yeah.
horrific.
Ugh. Yeah.
Although, I
So
mean,
yeah,
history's written by the winners.
yep.
Exactly.
I just
I mean,
I don't understand how the United States is just constant. What's our strategic advantage for basically being Israel's bitch?
we
Yeah.
don't have any. The gist is Israel's played the long con or the long game for the longest time.
I like long
So,
con. Let's stick with long con here.
Hmm.
um, well, it's just they've cemented so much of their political capital and their financials to like infiltrate the United States on such a fundamental layer since like probably the 60s or 50s on up until today. So just imagine how much power you've had if you've had lobbies and all kinds of money going in, and then you've infiltrated institutions inside the government because in like news media with all the corporate things, I've heard somebody from like MSNBC talk about basically Israel basically offers all the MSNBC people to go over to Israel. So they have like this massive campaign to, try to indoctrinate people to be like, oh man, Israel's the greatest thing since sliced bread. So it's just kind of gets institutionalized, and our politicians basically become less, become so dependent on them that they end up just giving up all their autonomy over to the, APAC lobbies or, the Israel lobbies. And so like,
Yeah, our our political
yeah,
system is so skewed in favor of who can make the most money or raise the most money.
well, yeah,
So
it's
when
it's our
APAC's throwing around hundreds of millions of dollars per cycle, I mean that's why you have Ted Cruz kissing the Wailing Wall 3 times a year.
yeah, and
They're getting it on camera. They're letting everybody know they
Hmm.
stand with Israel.
because yeah, money matters more in like Senate and congressional of you know things than they do in national. Because if you've seen like if you compare Trump versus Harris's campaign contributions, Harris had like a zillion dollars to Trump's whatever, and Harris lost enormously. So money doesn't always matter, but on like in Ohio, I don't know who the fudge is running for whatever in Ohio, but obviously whoever's going to pay more and run campaigns, that's who you're going to probably end up voting for. Is
Hmm.
because you know basically the gist is I don't know what's going on in Ohio very much, and a lot of that information is controlled because we've become more nationalized to focus more on the national level than we have on the local level. So money matters more on local level now than it does in the national level. It's because our
Yeah.
attentions have moved from our neighbors to the whole of the country in a lot of senses. So that's why money really matters for all these like politicians in the Congress and whatever. And like, obviously when they start there, then you've got to obviously you've cemented your allegiance to that. So then when you go up in the thing, and it's not like there's not like institutionalized people that are supportive of Israel inside the government that aren't elected. I mean, there's bureaucrats that aren't elected that support the, Israeli regime. So you've also got that, and it's just a lot of things. It's just compromised to shit.
It is. I was gonna say, I'm not sure if you guys read this book, but it's by Anthony Summers, and he's a reporter from BBC. And in his book, it's called The Official Confidential: The Secret Life of J. Edgar Hoover. Most important thing about this is that J. Hoover was the first FBI director, and he was caught and he was caught in blackmail ring by the mafia, specifically Meyer Lansky and Frank Costello. I'm not sure if you guys heard those, but majoritively they were Jewish mafia heads. So, if we're trying to connect how we get to Epstein, the blackmail and ties that APAC has on our government, I think it goes a lot deeper, all the way back to J. Edgar Hoover, which is in the 1920s.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've heard some things to where it's like, um, I've heard this about Kennedy. Basically, around 60s, the U.S. and Mossad were starting to get real close. The CIA is what I should say,
Hmm.
and Mossad were getting real close. And you know, heard that Kennedy was thinking about making like APAC and them a foreign lobby, which means they have to operate on different rules, and then he
Yep.
ends up dead.
A
So I
year
mean,
later, yeah.
yeah, you can take that with the way it is, and he started getting like a little more like kind of going against like CIA and stuff, which is a whole nother animal altogether.
No,
Um,
yeah. Because
it's
once you're,
basically,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, CIA is kind of just like a rogue agency inside the U.S. that kind of runs semi-autonomously.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you got that institution, which is why they have a lot of power, and which is why, senators and congressmen are so afraid of bucking against the,
CIA.
intelligence agencies. It's because it's like, well, how much information they have on me, it's, type stuff. So it's like,
Well, all APAC has to do is send out a tweet saying you're an anti-Semite, and I mean, you basically lose your entire career. They,
Because they made that legislation last year, right? You know what I'm talking about? I have to
uh,
find it. There is a legislation. It was especially when there's a student riots on campuses,
oh,
and that effectively said,
yes,
hmm
yeah, that was while the Ivy League, they were cracking down on all the Ivy League schools that were holding Free Palestine rallies on campus.
yeah,
They were sending, I mean, what really could be considered secret police to go to these different campuses. I mean, Harvard, Yale, Brown, and the students that were found to be at these protests, I mean, walkouts, like whatever you want to call them, they were not violent, at least to the general public's knowledge. They were just straight kicking them out of college, and some of them were being arrested. They were threatening to deport foreign students and revoke their visas.
I remember that. Yeah, and
yeah,
one of them was like an Asian one too, so it was a little unfair where they're trying to stand up for Palestine, and then they're told, oh, do you want to be deported to Palestine? And that was the scariest thing I've heard is they can't have freedom of speech now in a college campus.
Yeah,
It's the most
it's
important thing
being
we can have.
stripped. It's
It
freedom of
is.
speech until you mention Israel. I mean,
Yeah.
still, up until I think a couple of months ago, Trump finally changed it, but it wasn't illegal to burn an American flag. Yet you would go to prison if you burned an Israeli flag on American soil.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I
And you can
mean,
make distinctions with other countries. Like you could talk about the Communist Chinese Party and the government, but and Chinese people, but as soon as you talk about Israel, yeah, like you said, you lose your career, you lose everything, can't think
well,
forward.
well, a lot of the reason for that is more or less the fact that Israel was started to realize, oh shit, we're losing control of the narrative and like control over basically the population. So they put their influence and put pressure on our government to basically silence them, which then they did, and which obviously went against our constitution. But obviously they're politicians. Who cares? So, um,
Mhm.
I
They just
mean,
find a workaround for it, you know.
oh, they're not even working around. They're just like, yeah, and then it's like, who cares?
And they're
And
not
like,
even trying to hide it. Wasn't there a audio with Benjamin Netanyahu saying, "We have a problem with
Yes.
TikTok"?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah,
saying that TikTok was an issue and that they
yeah,
needed to
why,
start controlling the
yeah,
narrative.
why do you think it got
hmm
sold to a Zionist guy?
Oh, you mean Larry Ellison?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh.
this guy that puts a lot of money towards the IDF, who spend, he's basically aligned with Israel. So it's kind of
hmm
like, yeah, let's give them TikTok, and then yeah, it's like then also he buys up Paramount, right? Was that no? What was the other thing he bought up just recently?
HBO Max, Netflix,
Yeah, yeah, that. Well, not Netflix, but the yeah,
HBO Max. Yeah.
yeah, and that's like they're trying to basically recapture the industries again,
hmm
um, to cement more of their pro-nationalist propaganda, or Zionist propaganda, to be like Israel's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
hmm
We're not basically massacring people in Gaza. What are you guys talking about? You don't see that. Can't
Yeah.
see me here.
We're not doing it. You guys are doing it.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean,
No.
we are doing it considering we're giving them like
We're
guns,
we're
freaking
giving them
missiles.
$4 billion a year free of charge to do whatever they want with.
Yeah. I mean, we're basically giving them the arms to do it. It's not like,
Hmm.
they have like and like, I understand why they're doing a lot of the things they're doing. It's because one, like their small ass country doesn't really have much resources, so it's not like they can be any type of power outside, so obviously they got to expand in order to become a bigger power. And I heard that Gaza has a crap ton of natural gas underneath of it. So that's probably a large portion of why they're doing what they're doing with Gaza. And they can't integrate 2 million Palestinians, so they're trying to either ethnically cleanse them and murder them all, or they're trying to send them somewhere else. So, I mean, that's kind of what they're doing there. And then with Lebanon, as they're invading Lebanon, I think I heard they were going towards like a natural gas pipeline. So obviously, they're trying to get some natural resources, which is why they're expanding. And they're using the US as cover in order to for their expansion regime so that they can gobble up all these resources, take control, solidify their control so that they can basically become more of a hegemony inside the region and then eventually throw off the shackles of all foreign power because they're not really autonomous as much as they'd like to be. I mean, if the
Hmm.
U.S. basically told them "fuck off," you can't do jack shit. There's nothing they could do. Um,
One of the things that grinds my gears about Lebanon is that I mean, outside of the basically all the Western civilizations, so United States, Canada, Mexico, a few countries in Europe, Lebanon's one of the largest like population of Christian, like religious, like it that was stupid. It has one of the
Population,
largest like religious
Christian
Christian
populations in the
populations.
Middle East.
In the middle, yeah. I was
Yeah,
gonna say I didn't know that.
Yep.
yeah. So I mean, for what? Allegedly, Christians and is are supposed to like support Israel, but where's the support back? Murder? We're getting murdered.
Well, they're not really supporting like. There's always been a divide between Hezbollah and Christian, from what I heard, and some of the things I listened to, and like now that Israel started their attacks again, it's like they're bringing them back together, and rather than submitting to divide. So I mean, it is what it is. I mean,
Well, to be fair,
but
I
yeah.
think a lot of people are looking for crusades right now, and I can't say I'm against that.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm surprised that a lot of the European nations haven't actually utilized this national fervor against Israel as a way to solidify power and actually gain power. It's kind of like, what do you guys have no balls? But
Well, I
sorry for
know
the
why
line.
the UK hasn't, and that's because Starmer is
Blackmailed. Epstein.
Well,
he was a very large name in the Epstein files, and he was
Hmm.
friends with a lot of people who were also big names.
yeah. Well, you got to also remember Israel was originally kind of a client state of the Great Britain
Yeah,
originally.
because wasn't it what was it,
It
the
was Great
prime minister that said, "Dear Mr. Rothschild," or "Dear Mason," or Monk, do you know what I'm talking about? "Dear Lords Rothschild, we have," it's a letter about how they got Israel formed. I have to probably send it to you if you
It
want to
was
share
Yeah,
in
it.
like
yeah.
the early 40s. I don't know
Yeah,
who it was.
Well,
I'll
I
get it.
mean, late 40s. Well, they had it, and then the Jewish people came, and then they kicked the Palestinians out, and then the British were like, "We can use these people. They're not Muslim and whatever, so we can use them." So then they kind of used them as a way to, basically solidify their power in the Middle East. So they were basically a hub for the Great Britain to still utilize it. This was before when they still had colonies, and obviously there was also an incident where Great Britain and Israel tried to seize the Suez Canal from uh, Egypt, but the U.S. stepped in and was like, no, we can't have that. We're at a Cold War with Russia, and we need to look like the good guys. Like, you can't do this colonial crap. So they had to give back the Suez Canal to the Egyptians. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happened, and then obviously as Great Britain declined in power, and they kind of started doing whatever, Israel started looking to us to like be their sugar daddy, and so that's how we got roped into all this crap. because it went from them corrupting, and they still have their hooks in Great Britain. I mean, like Epstein's or Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's father
Oh
Robert
is
Maxwell.
yeah, he was
uh,
British
it was
media
Yeah.
baron.
a media baron who worked for Israel, as far as I'm aware, and then who had a
Embezzled
mysterious death.
50 million, is that right, from the pensions of his company?
Yes, he was. Yeah, he was stealing money.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, he created McGraw-Hill, which is our history book. So, of course, we didn't know this growing up in school.
No, they would have never told us that.
Oh, no.
Well,
No.
it's probably they didn't actually know that. It's not like they actually research any of this crap. They're
No.
told what to give through the Board of Education. The Board of Education just, they're just like, here's the books you can buy, and schools buy them. So,
Mhm.
I mean, or at least that's how I think it works. But I could just be talking out my butt there. But yeah,
I think how it works is that like McGraw Hill secures a contract through
yeah,
like state governments to supply
the books. Yeah, I
textbooks
imagine
to
there's
public
some.
schools.
Yeah, I imagine the Board of Education probably has something to do with it too, since obviously there's some autonomy on the local level with education.
Well,
Mhm.
there's only a little bit. Most of it is like
Yeah,
know
there's
how
a lot of state
there's
funding, so they have to pass state stuff.
correct, and then there's also state education requirements. So they say
Yeah,
you have to teach the students this. Now it's not for
yeah.
everything, but like most
I mean, did you
whenever you hear
guys?
oh you have to take 2 health classes when you're in high school, that's
Yeah,
what the state says.
Mhm.
Now what
yeah.
you do with those health classes, I think, is basically up to you.
Did you guys
Yeah,
have
up
to
to
take a test
localities.
in order to graduate high school for you guys?
A
What
test
was
to
the question?
graduate high school?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, I've never heard of that. Like the SAT? no.
No, no, no.
That's
It
yeah.
was a proficiency test. Like it was in
Proficient.
10th grade, you had a proficiency test that you had to basically pass.
Oh, yeah, they do that. It was like the Ohio IT or something, or
Yeah.
OH.
No,
Yeah,
so
they.
I took tests at like the end of every year, but it was like a 1 through 5. As long as you got higher than a 1 and you weren't a complete like fucking idiot, you
Yeah.
like you got whatever your actual grade was.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this was for the state. It was just like a proficiency test. And for me, obviously, I'm 10 years apart from you guys in your, schooling. So, obviously, there's going to be a big difference. So yeah, it was, basically we were taught up to the proficiency test, and then after the proficiency test, after you passed it, it's like they could start teaching you whatever. But up until that point, they had to teach you what was on the proficiency test, so to speak.
That actually, I mean, it could have been changed for us.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's been
Yeah.
10 years with between us. That's why I asked if you guys,
Mm-mm.
because I mean, our education system, I joke when I say education,
Education,
because
yeah.
just because I feel like our education system's terrible.
Yeah, speaking of education, did you know our National Education Day, celebrated on November 11th, is an honor to the birthday of, I don't know this guy's name, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad. He's a Jewish, he's really one of the highest Jewish priests. There's a video of Netanyahu and him, and they talk about bringing back the savior, the greater Israel, if you guys seen that floating around online. But he has some powerful influence. Every year, every president, um, they resign that, including with the seven Jewish. I'm going into a rabbit hole on that, but it's
Is
kind
Yeah,
of
this
yeah.
like
weird.
is this like Rabbi
Apex.
Shmuley?
Yeah, I think so. This is the same guy who also this is inappropriate, but this is the same guy who is connected with the mafias of the porn hubs and sex trafficking too.
Oh,
And if
okay.
we're going to tie in, APAC and this guy, and hey, why are we
I mean, that goes to
constantly? Yeah,
show what I
it's
said
showing how
earlier.
much their APAC is, kind of interlinked with the United States at this point, how much they have, our
Yeah,
balls in their
I
hands.
mean, yeah, I mean, you got to remember, like our cult, Hollywood. There's a lot of Jewish, producers and Jewish people that run Hollywood, and a
Hmm.
lot of them are Zionists. So it's not all, So you got basically our culture being influenced by them in a
Yeah,
lot of cases. You know,
and this is
and
where I was.
it's
Yeah, go
it's
ahead.
just they just kind of keep creating influences, and then like obviously we don't notice anything until they start, trying to do a stranglehold, which is what they've been doing for the last several years. Because
Mhm.
like they did whatever in Gaza, and we were all like, oh, okay, at first, like, oh yeah, October 7th or 9th or whatever the hell day it was.
Yeah.
Um, like, oh yeah, they killed a bunch of people. Yeah, you should be able to do this. And then all of a sudden we're saying, oh yeah, look at them massacre all these Palestinians that had absolutely nothing to do with it. This is bad.
Yeah,
Mhm.
let's look at them shooting unarmed Palestinian women and children in the back.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, yeah, this is
Straight up
bad.
war crimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, come on, it can't be war crimes. They're the greatest moral army in the history of the universe.
Hmm.
At, at what point do we try to break like relationship, break mold from them? And I mean,
I think
what
that's
does that look like? Does it look like they just immediately threaten to nuke us after? Because it seems like that's what they do after everything. Is they just threaten to
Mhm.
use nuclear weapons, which they
Yeah,
claim they
Well,
don't have.
yeah. Yeah, I
well,
remember that. I heard a statement that we only bombed Iran because we heard Israel was wanting to
yeah,
nuke them if we didn't step in.
well, not nuke, but it basically the gist from what what's his name, the Cuban guy from Florida, I forget his name off the top of my head,
Marco Rubio.
Marco
Rubio.
Rubio.
Rubio basically said we had to step in because Israel was going to bomb them. If Israel bombed them, then they were going to bomb our stuff. So we had to preemptively bomb them so that Israel didn't let us get bombed, and so that we didn't get called to Congress being like, "Why'd you let us get bombed?" It's like it was circular logic that made no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
At what
it's kind of
point do you
like,
call their bluff on if we don't bomb, will Israel actually bomb? And if they do, why
Mhm.
would we back them up?
Yeah.
Like
Just
what?
like how they killed our embassy back in the what's it, 70s or 80s, and the Secretary of State said that was not a mistake, while the president said that was a mistake. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? They sunk a submarine
The
that was called an SOS
USS
different.
was it? It was something like was it wasn't the Abraham Lincoln.
I was gonna say,
Liberty.
yeah.
Liberty.
Liberty, yes, it was
Yes.
Liberty, yeah. I was
Oh
also
yeah, I've
thinking
heard something
Lincoln.
about it, but I don't know much about it other than like they were attacked by Israel.
It
Yeah, we
was
had a flak
attacked
on
by
our ship.
Israel, and Israel
Yeah.
claimed that it was not them, even though we had proof that it was. So
Hmm.
our government covered it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show how much power, they had even back then. Because there was like a cooperative agreement also between our, intelligence agencies. So it's not like that's not a good thing to have.
Mhm.
You don't basically want to intertwine your two agencies, which is what they do. And then also our agencies basically go, Israel is full of shit all the time. But yeah, we go along with their thing anyway a lot of the time. Like I think I heard in the New York Times thing, basically, or thing when not Netanyahu was doing the hard sell for Iran in the whatever room, um, operation room or whatever it's called, like where you do whatever,
The war room.
um,
The war room?
or something along those lines. He made a hard sell to like, President Trump. And then after the fact, basically our people are like, yeah, they're full of shit. Like they're doing a hard sell. Like, their intel is usually, cockamamie after the fact. So, but Trump kind of went along with it and, everybody kind of backed him. And so, boom, we went to war. And I imagine he thought it was going to be a wham bam, thank you, ma'am, like Venezuela. And then he was like, oh, man, this is a different beast altogether.
Yeah, he thought it
Yeah.
was going to be 88 minutes and we get a ton of oil to send to Israel, but then it turned out that it's never going to stop. I mean, it'll be a conflict that becomes a forever war if we don't either break ourselves away from Israel and stop being their
Well,
lapdogs.
it's
Mhm.
more or less, pull the chain on Israel than it is anything else. It's more or less we just got to pull the leash. Because,
Yeah.
like, if we stop giving Israel weapons, what is Israel going to do? In a war, it's like, well, we don't have weapons. They don't really have a big industrial base to, you know, build weapons. They rely heavily on us.
Why does it matter what happens to Israel in a war? They're not the United States. I have no connection to them. They have no connection to us other than they basically own us. at least what seems like they own us.
You think
Well, yeah.
JFK was the example, just like how they almost got Trump? So anybody who tries to make real change in Washington, they
I mean,
handle it.
he has to be. Like JFK had to have been the first one that now they tell every president, don't do this or Israel will blow your head off in front of your wife.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, no.
Just like
It's
that judge that was looking into the Epstein files. Remember that UPS guy that just killed, was it the son of the judge? Or was it the husband? I remember that was like
I
going
don't know
around
if I heard
too.
about that.
Yeah,
I
there was a judge that was looking into the Epstein case, and then it was all over the news where it was a fake UPS driver, and he just shot either the husband or son, and the judge had to kind of be removed from the case. So I'm seeing a lot of politicians. They're saying I'm not taking any APAC money, and they're showing their complete donations, and some I'm not sure if it's their tax returns, but just showing their where they're getting their money, so they're not Israel linked, which I think is a major
Well,
stepping
I mean,
stone.
what I heard in a lot of cases too on some of these is like Israel's creating a back door and like they're getting money through somebody else, but the money when you trace it all the way back still comes from APAC.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
yeah, so I've heard that. But they're basically not trying to put their name to anybody. Because I think like somebody that they kind of were funding back channel, and everybody was like, somebody pointed out, hey, you're funding them. Like, no, we're
Oh yeah,
not.
Zondi from New York when he was supposed to be the anti APAC, anti establishment, and then it turns out he was with a bunch of cabal Jews or the Orthodox Jews. That's another thing too I wanted to jump into with into this. We could do this another podcast, but some of these Jews, are they really like the normal Jews that we know as like, normal Catholic Christian, the normal like
Well,
religious people who
there's
practice it?
different types of Jews. The
Yeah,
Orthodox Jews are somewhat different because
yeah.
over in Israel, the Orthodox Jews are a big part of the thing in Israel. Like they're
Mhm.
exempt from military service.
Yeah.
And there was a big hoopla about them like being like, oh, we need more men for our military. So they were like looking to, put the Orthodox Jews, and it was like they were like, no, we can't
Oh.
have that. And you know, over here it's kind of like the Orthodox Jews is kind of more like where the Zionist thing comes from, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken. I could be completely mistaken,
No, no, no.
but
I think you're on the right track. I
Yeah.
think there's some of the Orthodox Jews tied with Kabbalism, and that's where I hear that's the elite religion with Hollywood. It's like they talk about the Kabbalatry and all that spiritualism side of that. But that anyway, going back to the topic at hand. Sorry.
yeah, we haven't really talked one bit about Iran this whole time.
I mean,
I mean,
We're connecting the dots.
yeah,
we
it's all
talked about.
related. Come on.
That's why we're stuck in this war, is because of damn Israel.
I mean, yeah, there's only two options that is going to happen for with the Iran war. One, Trump gets us out of it, which I doubt. Or two, there's going to be a ground invasion. I mean, because there's no other way to win. And even then, it's going to be a catastrophe. Like, there's no win-win. There's no win scenario here.
Nah, I
Because
think it's just a double lose. No matter what happens, you're losing.
well, yeah, because like the reason why we haven't done a ground invasion is because we don't want to expend the resources. When I mean resources, the human lives that it would
Mhm.
take to be able to conquer the country. Because you would need to institute a draft. Because I think
Which
we only have like
just in
what
today.
100 to 500,000 military troops.
Today,
Uh,
every
Yep,
male
automatic
between the age of 18 and
18,
25 became
25.
signed up for the
well,
Yeah.
no, they've increased the age of draft or
well,
for enlistment to like 40.
I
Now
did
it's
see that, but it's from the ages of 18 to 25, you are now automatically signed up for the selective service. So
Yep.
instead
wait,
of,
it was required by law. You had to,
well,
even
correct, it was, but
Yeah.
people could get away with it unless you went to college or you voted. Because those were the
Mhm.
two places where before you do either, you were forced to sign saying I will give my life away for Israel
well, it's
to die in
conscription.
Iran.
Well, yeah. I mean, but so like to me, like in order for us to actually pull off any kind of thing, I mean, this is probably my guesstimation, which is could be completely off. We need about 1 million troops in the region in order to even pull it off, because you got 90 million people, you've got this huge ass country, and it's going to be worse than Vietnam.
Yeah.
So like, you basically, once you start taking more and more territory, the more and more troops you're going to need, and you're going to need to keep escalating. Also, that's going to drain all of our troop supply from elsewhere in the in the world. So like basically it's like, well, do we want to keep people in Germany or X, Y, and Z? So then you're gonna start putting all these assets into there unless you conscript. So and that's why, the conscription would happen, which is why a draft would happen. Is so you can actually keep all these military bases still running while you basically send the newbies to go fight and die for your war. And then, that's kind of and then a perpetual cycle. Like when you take a territory, we're not going to be doing what Israel does, which is basically basically destroy everything, kill everybody, and kick everybody out because we're not monsters. So, so obviously, if we do that, we're gonna, if we take territory, we're gonna occupy the territory, and we occupy the territory. Anybody in that territory, we're gonna have to basically police.
Mhm.
And so, like, that can end up going wrong in a lot of different ways. Like, in Iraq, it goes wrong. In Afghanistan, it went wrong. And it's
Mhm.
not like these people are like, yay, the US right now, because we did a terrible PR campaign in order to even do this. We're just like, yeah, we're just going to bomb you and kill a bunch of people. And, also like blow up a children's school on the first day. It's like, oh, yeah, that's really going to ingratiate yourself.
There
So,
were a lot of confirmed civilian casualties in the bombing in Lebanon. I
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
no
yeah.
I'm
I
not sure
mean,
of the exact number, but I did see that it was fairly massive.
150 some or
Yeah.
around 200 and some, and then over 1,000 wounded from what I saw.
Yeah. Which so what in your eyes, what does an actual win here for the United States look like?
What depends on what
You
our goals are, and we don't have goals. So
Here's the
like,
thing. Here's the thing. I think we have goals, but we're not telling the public just because of how fragile we are right now with our debt. So we really need to control oil at all costs because the only reason why our economy has been doing so well is because we had the petrodollar, which gave us, as the French called it, exorbitant privilege. We could borrow our own currency indefinitely at a lower cost, which is how we were able to finance trillions of debt. Because when the rest of the world has to buy in oil to, buy energy for their countries, they have to buy dollars, and those dollars are just being paid through U.S. Treasury bonds. So that basically gets into a feed loop, and I have some notes. Oh, geez, sorry. But basically, what happens is that the oil countries get richer, the U.S. banks get richer as well, and the U.S. economy because they're buying U.S. Treasury bonds. So the stock market completely goes up every single time. How many people know this too? But the same banks of America were actually funding infrastructure into Mexico, um, Brazil, Argentina, and that's what allowed them to thrive so well. But up until the 1970s, new Fed chair Paul Volcker, he hiked the rates, and so and just to try to crush inflation at home, but that set the debt trap. So we basically screwed over Mexico, Latin American countries because the debt just soared. They could not pay that interest rate. So that's when we started weaponizing it and getting countries into a trap. And I think that's why more countries like China, Russia, they're trying to create the BRICS because they've seen what we can do when we can leverage the petrodollar. That's why we've been in wars with. We look at 2000. Sorry, I'm going off on a rant here, but last thing to end it. But did you know with Saddam Hussein, he sold oil in euros, broke the petrodollar, and we know what happened with that later. We went into war in 2003 just so he could stop doing that. And Libya, Gaddafi also floated the idea of gold-backed dinar, the African currency for oil trade. And then in 2011, NATO bombed Libya and Gaddafi was killed. So Iran later said they wanted to trade oil in yuan. It's almost like they want to fight the New World Order with the BRICS. Sorry, that
well,
was a
I
tangent.
also well, I also heard in their 10-point plan, and to make us a little more thing, they're willing to like sell stuff in USD, but right now they're doing it in won because one, they can't utilize USD money or US cash because we're sanctioning the shit out of them. So they have to buy
Mhm.
everything in yuan. So obviously, and their biggest supplier is obviously China.
Who is the
Um,
largest importer of oil in the world?
yeah. So that's where they're sending their oil to, was China and other things under the ground. And then, Russia is having a field day because they're like, oil prices are going up, yay! Which is
Yep.
why I think Ukraine bombed one of their oil refineries, I think, shortly after this war started. Because,
Mhm.
once we lifted sanctions on oil, that's on transit in Russia, then Ukraine was like, oh, no, we're not. So they blew up one of their oil refineries. But,
Yeah.
So
I mean,
Ukraine's really got our back like that? They're fighting an active war, and then they decided to hit
they did it for
Iran first.
themselves. Oh, no, they attacked Russia, not they attacked
Oh,
Russia.
okay. That's what
Yeah.
I mean.
No.
Yeah, yeah.
They're
They
they're
did it
selfish
for
like that.
themselves.
Mm,
And then we're also like, I mean, Ukraine war was a no-win scenario for them as well. I mean, because they just don't
Oh,
have the manpower. It's not like they can't
right.
hold the line for a long time, but Russia can afford the troops to basically keep sitting at them until whatever, which is why their age of military is around 50 some years old or something.
Hmm.
So,
yeah.
Have you ever
Have you
heard
have you
of
seen
around.
the
tortures?
line,
Oh no.
like the border map recently of what I'm Ukraine has done a hell of a job over the past what? I mean, has it been 5 years, 6 years?
I think four.
four,
Yeah,
four,
four.
yeah.
Hmm.
But their territory is slowly being torn from
Yeah,
them.
Yeah. They're not
yeah.
winning.
Yeah, they're not winning. I mean, they never stood a chance. I
Hmm.
mean, especially when they were kind of constrained by us because we didn't want them to like go invade Russia because we were worried about Russia basically being like, "Oh shit," and then blowing up everybody up with a nuke. So, we kind of forced them into a defensive war, which is just a grinder. And, and then also like a large portion of their population fled. So it's not like people were like, "Yay, war! We'll stand up for Russia." No, a lot of the young folks fled, left, and that's why there's like a lot of Ukrainians. There's a shit ton of Ukrainians down in Israel, as far as I'm aware. There's a lot of them over in like Hungary and all kinds of places. So yeah, it's like they lost a large portion of their population just because of this war,
Hmm. And
because they didn't want to get involved.
wasn't
Yeah.
the only reason we'd be in the war or to support them was so we could drain Russia, deplete them, just play the long game. So if it gets any worse, we can actually do more damage to Russia since they exhausted
We
resources.
we thought we could basically foment a type of coup d'état in Russia and try to break them up
Mm,
a little bit, and then at the same time, you know, it's just I mean it's kind of hard. I mean, there's a lot of things that went into Ukraine. Basically, Ukraine, was like before 2014 was pro Russia, and then we installed a pro NATO person in like 2014, which they didn't really, which obviously Russia didn't really like. And then, they started bombing people in the Donbass region, which were primarily Russian speaking and pro Russian. So there was like kind of a civil war in Ukraine. And, so then that's when they came in and took Crimea. And, basically because they didn't want Crimea, which is one of their biggest, like, ports. That's where a
yeah.
lot of their stuff come in and from. Because, from the Mediterranean, because that's like one of their only hubs to the Mediterranean. So they need Crimea. It's not like it's a national security. It's like us losing all of our freaking sea lanes, or say
No,
Florida
like
or our East Coast and West Coast. It's like we can't
mhm,
have that.
yeah.
Um, and then they'd have to go. Their other sea lanes is either through the Pacific, which is on the other side of where probably most of their manufacturing is, or through the Scandinavian sea lanes, which is treacherous and kind of owned by basically the Scandinavian countries, Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, along with Great Britain and all them. So, and Germany. So it's like, they'd have to fight there for that. Plus, it's very, I don't think it's like the greatest lane to travel through all the time. So yeah, they definitely needed Crimea. And then also, I guess recent days they were bombing the Donbass region before Russia came back in for the war, but I don't know about that. So, I mean, it was just, you know, it was just more of a NATO push to expand into Ukraine. And Russia's like basically red line is Ukraine can't be a NATO ally.
That's
That's
right on their
literally
border.
yeah. It's they're literally because they don't want nukes right on in Ukraine. That's kind of the thing.
Yeah.
So,
Like, look how we handled Venezuela, and that was a whole continent away.
what do you mean? What?
Like, if like hypocrisy, like how we saw Venezuela, we didn't like how Venezuela was handling things, so we just went in and did a regime change, picked
Well,
out
I mean, you could
Maduro.
just to like the Cuban Missile Crisis from the 60s.
Exactly, that too, yeah.
We were like, let's put nuclear bombs in Turkey and aim them at Russia. And Russia's like, okay, let's put bombs in Cuba and aim them at the US. And then we're like, whoa there, guys. We can't have this.
We can
Whoa,
do it,
whoa.
but you can't.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. And then, basically we're like, let's bomb them all. And then so, obviously cooler heads prevailed, which Kennedy, then he took his missiles out of Turkey and then they took their missiles out of Cuba. So it's like, okay.
After a failed invasion of Cuba, which I
Bay
mean,
of
how
Well,
many?
Pigs.
that was the Bay of Pigs, and the Cuban Missile Crisis was like I think a little bit after that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean the Bay like they're like, oh, we can get rid of this guy, blah blah blah. So they did the Bay of Pigs, which is also why we're like basically creating a genocide in Cuba right now by basically like you want power? Oh, I'm sorry, you can't have oil. Which is why there's a big like oil crisis there because we're embargoing the shit out of them, so they
Mhm.
can't have oil and all kinds of stuff.
America, land of the free economics until it's against us.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of want to do a regime change in Cuba now, like we did with whatever. So,
Venezuela, yeah.
Which are you
well, we didn't
like
even do a
allowed?
regime change in Venezuela. We just basically were like, oh, we just exchanged one ruler for another. That's not a regime change.
Mhm. And wasn't it sorry, to go to back to Ukraine, wasn't it Henry Kissinger, Nixon's Secretary of State, well, after JFK, sorry, after Reagan put down the wall? I know Kissinger said later, do not move NATO anymore to the west because that will piss off Russia. And ever
We
since, NATO's
we
just done
made
that.
a verbal agreement that NATO would not expand any further to the west.
Hmm.
It was already. So basically, like, no other country would be into NATO. Well, we kind of just said, well, screw you guys. And we kept expanding to the West, which kept, obviously Russia couldn't do much about it because they're in like an economic depression trying to figure out what to do and trying to like get their shit together.
Yeah.
So it's not like they can do much. And then the US didn't help them at all during that, which is fine. I mean, but we promised to help them, but we never helped them. Um, which, so like there's like Russia really wants to be part of like the European stuff that's going on in Europe. But we keep
Mhm.
pushing them out because we thought like, or we had this idea of a 50-year Cold War or 40-year Cold War. So we cemented so much hatred for the Russians that we basically were like, you can't be part of this. So obviously Russia kind of got ostracized and became what it is today. So, and there's still a fat shadow of, well, they're kind of the same old Russia, like very powerful country, just doesn't know how to utilize it. Because they're just so big, it's so hard to do.
Mhm.
And like they're not in the greatest of regions to capitalize on everything.
Yeah, they're so vast, and the weather is a real problem. They can only do
Yeah,
so much.
yeah. So I mean, that's kind of the problem with them. So yeah,
Mhm.
so it is what it is.
So what do you think's going to happen to so with Iran, obviously their whole goal is they want to have more control of oil. US understands that the petrodollar is dying. Obviously, Saudi Arabia, the original signer of the petrodollar, which strengthened our ability to have a powerful economy and allow us to have so much debt. Now we're at 37 trillion. Do you guys think that the rest of the world will continue playing that game, or the way how they've seen us just mishandle it and wage war irresponsibly. I don't know. What are your guys' take on that?
I mean, right now they kind of just have to deal with it. I mean, now
Yeah,
that's not to say that maybe 50 years from now it's not completely different, but I mean, what's the today's better solution? What
yeah.
is
There's
the
no alternative
tomorrow's
right there.
better solution? Yeah, there isn't.
I mean, the rest, like, nobody ever really planned for this, which is stupid. But but obviously China's trying to create their own little thing. But obviously, I don't think the European Union or the Europeans really want to go along with what China's doing. So it's gonna create like blocks, and then I mean, the whole like global trade financial system could eventually collapse, which is probably going to collapse because it's like you know obviously we bungled this so bad that it's like say South Korea, it's like why South Korea, why would they do X, Y, and Z? Why don't they just go and to Saudi Arabia and conquer all of Saudi Arabia and just make sure that they actually have an oil supply for the future, because like they're so oil like starved.
Hmm.
It's kind of little some of those things. So it's like going to give birth to more of the colonial, like, oh, we need these resources because we can't trust that we'll have these resources readily available all the way. Same thing with Japan. So,
This, I was gonna say, this is my take. So going back again, this is all about the U.S. debt. For at least for how I'm seeing it, the U.S. debt is really bad, but the people who are holding our, sorry, the countries that are holding our debt, South Korea, Japan, the countries that you listed, they are the biggest holders of that, but they are also the most needed for oil. We just captured Venezuela. We have control of their oil reserves. America and Canada, we have a lot of oil to produce. And I think if America is playing, at least in my theory, if they are trying to play the long game, they want this war go on as long as they can, close the strait so not as many oil can be moved, transport. I don't know what it is, but I've heard around that the last few ships of oil um, were sent out a couple weeks ago, and so that's going to cause a shock wave and go for another oil crisis. And so these countries that really need energy to power their countries, they're probably going to fall into America because no other country is really in a position to produce or sell oil, while the Strait and that entire oil area in the Middle East is a war zone now.
Well, here's my biggest concern is of the oil we had gotten from the invasion of Venezuela. How much do we actually still have? Because I had been hearing whispers that a significant portion of it was gifted to Israel.
Fucking
yeah, they created
course.
they basically started shipping oil to Israel. Like originally they weren't going to all that, so they did start shipping oil. Also, like to your thing about the oil reservoirs, from what I heard is we've basically globalized oil to where like oil like that's pumped here gets shipped to like Saudi Arabia to get refined, and then it gets refined there, and then it gets shipped to this other place to do whatever. So like all the like we don't have the refining capabilities in a lot of places, so we don't have actually the ability to make all this crap. So like the refinery happens elsewhere, but we can pump it. It's just, the refining is like globalized. So that's kind of how the whole kit and caboodle works. So that's kind of why like even if we have a large reservoir, we don't have the refining capabilities here, and it costs a lot of money just to even get that started. Because I guess like, they stopped refining or pumping oil and like, you know, basically all the GCC things. And what I heard is like it'll take them 3 years just to get to the point where they're pumping now. So
Hmm.
like or longer. So it's just like
Yeah,
there's
well,
not going to be much
I
going
think
on.
something that's not thought about very often by a lot of people. I mean, you hear a lot of left-leaning Democrats talk about it. Is that in by the year of 2028 or 2032, whatever number they're giving you, we'll run out of oil, which is why we have to invest in green energy. But it's not the case. It's the fact that of the wells that we currently know of will have tapped them dry. It's not all of the oil ever in the entire world. It's what we know of now. So I mean, every day they're finding.
Well, a lot of that has to do with global warming. That was their big sell on the oil thing, is global
Hmm.
warming. And then
So
I don't know how much our oil we have, but I don't think there's like a huge oil crisis to where like we're not very close to pumping oil because I imagine there would be a lot of people sounding the alarm. Not like the more people than one because obviously everybody relies on energy. So it's not like they're gonna be like, oh yeah, we're gonna allow them to pump it to zero and then have no oil and then be like, oh yeah, what are we gonna do next? I mean, we are that stupid, but I don't think we're that stupid. I'd hope.
If we could do it, we would.
I mean, yeah. So like, unless we do have an alternative thing, and we're just gonna blow through all this and then be like, hey, let's introduce the new whatever bot or whatever it's called.
Oh yeah, those self-driving cars, all
The
electric crap.
Waymos, the
Yeah.
self-driving taxis.
Mm-hmm.
I think
What?
the Tesla taxi is supposed to be starting test runs soon. So
Oh really?
yeah, in more major cities. I mean, we won't see it for a while.
Good.
Yeah. Well,
That's better for us.
yeah, I'm kind of like, who wants to drive in a like non? Yeah, that seems like a disaster waiting to happen.
I don't know. I want to get T-boned by one of them. I feel like that'd be a really good payout.
Yeah.
Not really, but yeah, I mean, also it's like who's to stop somebody from who wants to commit murder to hijack to basically hack into the machine or
Have it
do
jump off a
whatever. And
bridge.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
it's like
Have you guys seen Naked Gun with Liam Neeson?
yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That there's a scene in that just reminded me of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it's a scene in a lot of things, but yeah, no, good movie though, real good movie.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't I don't know if it made enough money to be recognized as a good movie, but it's a really good movie.
Mm. It is it comes from classics, so it is a good movie.
Yeah. I mean, I
That
liked.
that trope is in a lot of what's Elementary, the show about
Yeah.
Sherlock Holmes. They have one where somebody hacks into a car and kills two Russian mobsters, and he has to figure out who hacked into the car. I
Hmm.
I mean, it's fair enough that somebody could do it. I don't
Well,
know.
you could do.
Have you
Well,
heard of like anybody that happening in real life to anybody?
Well,
I mean,
didn't the United States say like in new cars they have a dead switch for police, so like if someone steals your car
You can
or if you're
shut
on
it
a
off.
high-speed chase. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and also if there was any of those things that were hacked, more than likely it was considered an accident. Knowing our police force,
Or it
talks
was
like a
something that
duck,
was
acts like a duck,
overlooked.
it's a duck. You know, basically they go with the easiest solution to get anything off their boards.
Mhm.
I mean, so I mean, they're not like the greatest of. They're not Sherlock Holmes for that matter.
No.
Yeah.
All right, well,
So like they don't really look much into stuff.
I have two fact check things I want to go over real fast that I pulled up. So before, when we were talking about APAC funding and Harris versus Trump in the last election, it was the largest margin that anyone had ever raised against an opponent and lost. Kamala
Yeah.
Harris had raised $997 million. Trump only raised $388 million and won. And
Huh.
then IDF donations. Larry Ellison is the largest single donor in the year of 2025. $16.5 million went right into
Yeah.
Israel's pockets for war efforts.
Yeah.
Mm,
And he owns TikTok. So yeah, it's like, huh.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
Well,
isn't
TikTok. I believe Oracle is now the largest web service company in the world. Is that correct?
it is, yeah.
Yeah.
oh, yeah. It's
Three
just
times. And then that ballroom, obviously that's a data center. We all know that, right?
Well, the Supreme Court stopped it.
What? Oh, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah,
yeah, I haven't heard
they made a ruling this week that they weren't allowed to continue construction on it. Which why that's in the Supreme Court's hands baffles me.
they got sued and then eventually ended up in the Supreme Court because I
Oh,
don't.
taxpayer dollar or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine a lot of people sued because
Well,
I
I
don't
thought it
think
was
people.
private donors. I thought Trump found private donors to pay for it.
Yeah, but it's on a public. It's on
Okay,
like
it's government
yeah,
property. Okay,
it's,
yeah, it's government
it's the White
property.
House.
There we
It's the
go.
White House too. So it's like, you know, it's like yeah, it's the White House. Like, and he's trying to put a freaking ballroom in a White House. I mean, I don't know what's your guys' opinion. I'm just like, oh my god, tear that down. Like immediately afterwards, like, oh my god, that's
How many
terrible.
walls are they gonna have? It would take you 35 minutes to get through security. Are you going to go through 40 minute security every weekend to go to a ball at the White House? And that's if you get
I mean, the
invited.
elites would. I mean,
Hmm.
that's who it's for. It's like, and then it's like cements even more of the like, oh my gosh, the president's a king type thing, which is kind of why you have that no king shenanigans
Yeah.
Yeah, which have
across.
you was it were there any of them near you guys? Like did you
I
see
think
Yeah,
they
any
had some in
I
footage
mean, I
or
Columbus.
any
saw them
pictures
there.
from one?
I mean, I know there's some around me. So yeah, I mean, I know my mom, I think, thought of going to one, or she did go to one, but like, I don't know.
So in
I remember.
in my hometown there was one, and
Yeah, there was one here.
they were busing like the from the assisted living care. They were busing people in, and it was
What?
Yeah, that's surprising.
almost entirely like people that were retired that lived at assisted living care, like in wheelchairs. That was it. There was a
Oh,
handful of people younger than like 35, 40.
that's weird.
I mean, I don't know how accurate that is, but it is. I mean, in your area potentially. I just know it was pretty big
Mhm.
across the the U.S. It
Oh
was
yeah,
Oh yeah,
huge.
oh yeah. There was a ton
I saw
across
that.
Ohio.
Hmm.
I mean, in Ohio, I don't know how actual big it was.
I think
I mean,
Columbus had like a really big one. I know every
yeah,
Tesla center they because of Elon Musk and the Doge, um but basically there's a lot of protests and then that later became into No King's Day as well. So it's that same group that every weekend they every day they were at Tesla just trying to stop people from buying them. And then when it was the actual No King's Day, it was all in the same period, but either way, it was just nonstop in front of the Columbus courthouse.
It's all
yeah.
paid
I mean,
protesters.
Yeah, probably
I
so.
don't know about that one. I'm not saying there's not paid protesters, but it's like that's a lot of money, and it's easier just to convince people to go out than it would be just to pay a bunch of people.
It would be
True, and you got
easier
enough
to pay.
unemployed
It would be
people.
easier to pay people $100 a person to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, where are you going to advertise? Like, how are you going to do things? There's a lot of
Well, it's all
things, and
not. It's
also,
all like NGOs.
What?
nonprofit. Yeah,
Yeah.
but like,
Oh, oh.
you realize they gotta like basically tell them where the money's going. So it's not like you wouldn't see, oh, we use this money for protesters.
Well,
It's like,
yeah.
yeah,
They're obviously not saying. They're saying that like, hey, we paid our employees this.
yeah. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. I'm not saying there's not paid protesters. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, I mean, just the amount of money you would need to do, the amount of work you would actually need to do. I mean, it's easier just to be like, here's buses, here's whatever. Because like, when you know, it's just, you have like them throwing rallies all the time and nobody shows up. But then all of a sudden, when people show up, it's everybody's a paid protester. So, I mean, the same thing was said, I think, back in like, when Obama was president, like, and there's a bunch of vitriol against Obama. People were like, oh, they're all paid protesters too. So, and then obviously, there was a lot of vitriol. So it's not like,
Well, I agree, which I would never say everyone is. I honestly, I would say probably half. Half of all the people that go are there because either they work for.
less.
No, I
But
I
I
would
mean,
say I
I
would say
agree.
50%.
I'd say very less. I mean, at minimum or at maximum 25,
I
but that's
think it
more or less.
happens more than you like either
Well, I
realize or would think.
Well, you'd probably want people to like coordinate. So yeah, you'd have some paid protesters. Like you
Yeah.
wanted people to coordinate with, to be like, yeah, when something, they want people to cheer. Like
Mhm.
obviously, it's easy to get a crowd going if you actually have a couple people start cheering, and then the other crowd kind of goes, oh, these people are cheering, let's cheer too. Because it's just a
Crowd
thing.
mentality.
yeah, crowd mentality. Like when you see a couple people start doing things, you'll do it. So yeah, I imagine there's some, but you don't need a lot in order to do that. Which is why I don't think like half's a good reference. So you just need a few people. I mean, to do whatever, and then people kind of will go, yeah, 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 yeah. Let's cheer for this. Let's cheer for that. Like without really understanding what they're cheering for. So I mean, that's kind of what I think. I don't think like there's a mass amount of it. It's just more like about coordination and illusion and stuff like that. It's not really about like trying to fill the crowd in.
Yeah, I don't think every single like type of protest there's always like for one example, when all of the like protests were going on with like Black Lives Matter, George Floyd in the I believe was it the summer of 20 or 21.
Yeah, yeah. When
Yeah.
COVID,
I
it
I
was
Mhm.
I highly doubt almost any of them were paid
well, that became
protesters.
more of an angry kind
Right.
of
Right.
Yeah.
riot thing because people were basically cooped up indoors. They couldn't talk to each other, and like obviously some bad thing happened,
Mhm.
and people were pissed off, and people were pissed off in general. You know, so obviously, when you have people sitting around stewing in their own hatred, obviously when you give them an outlet, which is George Floyd, shit
Civil
happens.
unrest.
Then
Yeah.
Yeah.
then they want to go outside and hit shit and yell and
Yeah.
so no,
So I mean, let's circle back around to like Jewish. It's kind of the same thing. I kind of go with the Jewish people in the U.S. or Israel. I'm kind of like, guys, stop doing things that are gonna make people want to do another genocide against your people. Like, stop it. I'm like, you guys are gonna create so much hatred that people are just gonna be like, yeah, Hitler had the right idea. Of course.
Oh, yeah, I
yeah,
know
which
you.
I mean that's a fairly like common sentiment that you see online right now.
No, yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, Kanye paved that path.
Well, I don't think I think Kanye was one of like the first people to like recognize a pattern, and I think he
But
probably went
Oh yeah,
overboard.
well,
he's a product of Hollywood. He's seen the real shit. He knows about the Rothschilds, the Clive David. I'm sorry, I'm going into that rabbit hole. But yeah, yeah, we all know
yeah,
about
he
the
knows
Jews.
about the Jewish, or the Zionist influence in that
Mhm.
thing, and how can it be oppressive and do whatever, and the oppression regime that they could do, like it can easily blacklist people, get people fired, all kinds of stuff. It's not like it's in a bubble thing. So I mean, you can understand why some people, that's why there's a joke like the Jews rule the world. I think there was a joke I heard, I think from Norm Macdonald, from way back in the day. It might have been a Saturday Night Live skit. He's just like, Jews are so mad that they made it snow in New York, like in LA, and they made it snow in New York.
Space
You know,
lasers, all that
so I
random
don't know
stuff.
if you guys know who Norm Macdonald
Oh yeah,
is.
probably the greatest
Yeah.
comedian of all time. Shout out to Norm, R.I.P.
Hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, I know. I
My
just
favorite is George Carlin.
Yeah,
oh yeah.
that's kind of like the same era. Yeah,
Well, he was a little bit before. He was 70s, I think. George Carlin, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s.
yeah, very
Um,
like outrageous.
yeah, well, I wouldn't say Norm Macdonald's very outrageous. He was just kind of a laid back kind of.
Well,
Yeah.
I can send you a couple videos of outrageous
Oh,
Norm Macdonald takes.
well, I
Send
mean,
him my way.
I've watched like this one thing. It's called like the moth joke when he was like on Conan O'Brien. I find that joke fucking hilarious for some reason. He just goes on for like 9 minutes on this one joke, and you're just like, come on, and it's just like the anticipation, and just the punchline is, it's like because the joke, I think the original joke's only like 10 seconds long, and then like he turns like a 10-second joke into like 9 minutes. And it's like he adds in all this depressing stuff and all this. But if you guys haven't seen it, I'd suggest you
No,
watch it.
I'll
It's
watch it when we get done.
I'm definitely watching that.
yeah, it's just and Conan O'Brien's like, because he's saying he did this during a car ride to like Conan's thing, like his driver's telling him this joke. And so, all of a sudden Conan's like, it's like, how long was this car ride? Like, like he's like, come on. And then once he says the punchline, he just starts cracking up laughing. He's just like, oh my God, like you spent all that long. I guess what the joke and how the joke came to be was he was a filler for somebody else. So he had to be out there for another, 10 minutes. So that's what he came up with for that skit. It's just like, what? So yeah, it's just like anticipation. Plus it's like real sad. He uses a bunch of like, Eastern European names. I think some of them are actually like from books and stuff. So, but yeah,
Yeah, I'll definitely look into that.
yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, some like, and then also like him getting fired from Saturday Night Live, um, basically because he kept making OJ jokes.
Mm,
That's
He,
why.
I didn't know that.
yeah, he got fired from like he used to do like the news report on SNL.
Yeah, those are like some of his best moments ever.
Yeah, I think that's where the thing where I saw the joke to where he's like, yeah, people in LA were pissed off, so they made it snow in
Oh,
New
oh,
York.
like he
That
was
would
doing a weather report.
Oh,
well,
Yeah.
no. He just made like a comment on a news line.
yeah.
So
I see where that comes from now.
yeah, it's just yeah, he was great. So plus, have you guys ever seen any of his Celebrity Jeopardy Burt Reynolds ones
I
where he played Burt Reynolds
I
on
may
SNL?
have. Yeah.
I've
Yeah,
seen
those
this. No, probably not. I was gonna
those
say
are
I know the
cool.
ones with Will Ferrell in
These are
it.
all from the '90s, so obviously I don't know. You'd have to go back in the archives for you guys, but
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, good times, good times. Back
Hmm.
in the day, when dinosaurs roamed.
Oh yeah, back in
Before the
your day.
storm.
Back in my day, guy, you young whippersnappers, when
Hey, I
dinosaurs
still played the
roamed.
Game Boy. I had that.
Yeah,
Wait, an original Game Boy?
Yeah, mine was a Pikachu
What
edition.
did I had
I don't think there's an
I had
original
the
Game Boy, but
see-through
okay.
green one.
Oh, okay. So my dad, he traded my damn Game Boy for a green one, and I only had Tetris out of it. I was like, this is not as fun.
Dude, all the handhelds, they need to like try to actually bring them back. Like try to remake a
Well, Switch.
PSP.
Yeah, but the Switch isn't like,
It's
The
not the
Switch is a
same.
hybrid, but it is a handheld.
It's
yeah.
it's not
I
the
mean, that's why the graphics are crap compared to like any of the other things. It's because it's a handheld.
Mhm.
But obviously they had to make like the screens bigger because people don't want to like look at like the tiny ass Game Boy screen anymore.
Mhm.
Um, so obviously they made it bigger. Then they made the joysticks break so that you have to buy one every 10 minutes.
Oh my
Um,
God, yeah. Mine drifts so
yeah,
bad.
Yeah, I
Mario
think
Kart is never fun with that.
yeah, I think the
well, I heard.
closest to like the original sort of like PSP that they've gotten is that a thing that they made for the PS5 that it streams your PS5 to a handheld that looks like a PSP and it has a decent screen, but
Oh, isn't that the $600 one or
yeah,
something?
it was really expensive.
Yeah. Man. You guys would buy it though?
I
Hmm?
if it was less than $600.
Yeah,
Oh,
me
the
too.
Switch too.
Yeah, like what the
Um,
hell?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they
Someone
increased the
compared the
price.
Wii price to inflation. They said it's actually not that expensive. It would be the same price as what the Wii would have been back in like 2008. It's just our currency has inflated the crap out of it. But yeah, no, it is expensive for us too still.
Well, not to mention I mean, if you're going to talk about inflation, you got to also talk about the fact that our wages haven't gone up. It's like, huh,
Oh
Ah,
yeah.
fuck.
yeah, it's like, oh man, cost of living, you need X amount of money to live by yourself, even in Ohio. It's like, oh, well, that's like twice as much as what you needed before, like however many years went by.
Mm-hmm.
I
So,
I think I'm gonna fact check this, but I'm gonna say it first and then probably make myself regret it in a minute. I had
hmm,
seen a
Do it.
statistic on Twitter, so don't quote me on this, but Twitter's normally all right. That since the mid 70s, the cost of living has increased approximately 87 or
80, yep.
97%.
Yep.
and the average wage has only increased 23%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not surprising. I mean, that wouldn't be a surprising thing because, I mean, the last time our national wage got raised was when I first graduated high school, which was around 2008. So, it went from like, I think the national wage was around $5 an hour to like $7.95, and it hasn't moved since then. So like basically a minimum wage is 7.95 nationally. In Ohio, it scales to like Medicaid rates. So I don't know how much it is in Ohio right now for minimum wage, but it's probably around nine something an hour still.
You guys want to know what's crazy? Back then, a mailman making $15 an hour, and this is the boomer economy. Back then in the 60s, $15 is the equivalent now of $65, and that was 4 years ago. So give more inflation to that. So that's how our minimum wage should have been, or sorry. The statistic was the minimum wage back then
Oh,
is now equal to $65 today. Sorry,
I'm
that was the
I'm
actual
actually
thing.
surprised if this is right. Ohio's minimum wage is $11 an hour. I'm actually surprised.
Whoa.
Yes, it is.
Oh. Hmm.
I figured it'd still be in the nines. That's
Yeah,
No,
actually
like 815, wasn't it there before?
I want to say look up, or well, I got it. The federal minimum wage.
7.95.
But Ohio's was like 815, right? Before that?
Dang.
Well,
No,
it kept
well,
going up
yeah,
through the year because
yeah.
of 7.25 per hour for minimum. Minimum wage for U.S. is 7.25. But for Ohio, when we did our minimum wage, thing, it was connected to Medicaid, so cost of living a little bit. So that's why it actually goes up every year.
Okay.
So our minimum, that's why our minimum wage is 11. It's because we actually made sure that ours went up. So yeah. Federal minimum wage is only 7.25 an hour, and since July 2009, that
So
was the last time it got raised.
there is currently a bill in the House of Representatives. It is HR 122 that is going to be on the docket soon. The bill would raise the federal minimum wage to $10.59 and increase the minimum hourly wage by $4 annually every single year until 2030.
Well, that's never going to pass.
That would be insane. You want to talk about inflation?
It's that bad they got to talk about it, huh?
It if that happened, then in the next 3 years the minimum wage would be almost $25 an hour.
Hey-o.
Well, yeah, 22. If it
20
raised
yeah,
by
22
four
and
every year,
change.
yeah. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's. I mean, but yeah, no. I mean, that's never going to happen.
No.
It would, I
I
think it would
mean, you
probably
have.
crash the United States economy.
They'll say
Well,
that for the midterms to get in, and then they'll forget about it.
no, I mean, you have a much better chance of making $15 an hour minimum wage than you do having that pass. And both of them are dead in the water. Basically, they'll
Mhm.
just get filibustered to death and never get voted on.
Yeah, until you
Yeah.
slide in $15 million a year to transgender sciences in Saudi Arabia.
Oh no, it'll
Uh,
never get passed. Period. End of story. Like that. That won't even if you added in the most outrageous shit in the world that politicians and the elites want, it will never pass because that high wage increase is so vitriolic that none of their elite, none of their donors will go along with it.
nope.
So basically, you'd have to buck your, donors even to get any wage increase passed. Unless like unless like basically every state had like their minimum wage higher than the Fed, in which case you could be like, we'll just increase ours then.
Mhm.
I mean, but I don't know if every state has it higher than the Fed, so
I
uh,
I believe that they do. I
yeah.
don't think there's a state that it's less than.
I mean, I
I
wouldn't
would
be
guess eight
surprised if some of
dollars.
I wouldn't be surprised if some of the Midwest states kept it at 7.90, at whatever Fed is in the Midwest states.
Could you
Kind
Like
of
Iowa.
roll.
imagine making 7.25 an hour right now?
Uh, just
Uh,
bread and yeah, nothing.
Well, I mean,
you would have to work 2 hours at Chipotle to be able to afford a Chipotle bowl.
Wait, hold on. Shouldn't you give an extra hour for the taxes and withholdings?
Well, yeah, that's true. So
eh,
yeah, you'd have to work 3 hours to be able to eat one meal.
Mm-hmm. I know.
which means that's off the menu for you.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
god, yeah, you can only eat like 50 cent on sale. Well, 25 cents, you got to get them on sale ramen noodles.
Shoot. Hey, you guys remember that 4th of July? This is during Biden's time, but they said inflation's going down. The cost of a 4th of July meal is like $2.49. It was like just beans and like something
Oh
small.
yeah, they always do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Horse
we've been
shit.
basically saying the cost of living has been going down since, obviously, like since because once COVID hit, the cost of living went up tremendously because you had the supply shortage, so it made sense
Mm-hmm.
because the basics of economic supply and demand.
Yep.
Well, obviously, they're just like, oh, we can get away with selling it at like $50 an hour or 50, dollars. Okay, we'll just keep it there, and then they expect everybody to keep paying that, and everybody's like, huh?
And we
And then
still have been.
yeah, and
Yeah.
people still pay for it, so it's like, oh, we're still making just as much money, so why would we lower it? It's kind of like,
I
you
don't know if you
know,
guys seen this article floating around, but it shows that a lot of the corporations, even after the supply chain crisis been through, they maintain those prices because what company would ever give up their profits like
Oh
that?
yeah. I
But
mean, it
they're squeezing it
sucks.
out.
It sucks, but
oh yeah, I mean,
you would be stupid to expect them to
No,
reduce their
exactly.
price back to what it was
well, yeah,
before.
it would require actual, the federal government to, regulate it, which,
They won't
any kind
because
of
they lobby and
regulation
get
is kind of
money from them.
vitriolic to us nowadays. So, oh my
Yeah,
gosh, regulation? That's like the Antichrist. It's like
yeah,
this is terrible. And then, which is why, like, Democrats will be like, yeah, we support this. And then they don't do anything. And then the Democrat or Republicans come in and go, yeah, we're just cut everything again. It's like, okay.
hmm
Yeah,
Yeah, which is why
you can't regulate everything because communism.
we
yeah.
we were actually regulated to shit until like Reagan. And then Reagan started the deregulation, which basically made like I think my dad went on this thing about Reagan and like the deregulation, from like the 80s. Like he deregulated the airlines, he deregulated
Hmm.
trucking. So all the unions from the trucking basically got cucked. So then you got all these like high paying trucking jobs basically got you know, basically became more independent, which means they charged less, which means the wages went down because unions started losing a bunch of power. And then once the unions started losing a bunch of power because the regulations weren't for the unions anymore, and then like they weren't really like regulating the companies, and then which case, then once you created NAFTA and the global trade, which then, and then deregulation after that as well, which then allowed all these companies to basically move all of our manufacturing overseas because it's
China,
cheaper,
Mexico.
you know, which then created this, and now we don't have a manufacturing base here, which is why like, any kind of disruption in our supply chain creates mass amounts of money. Like I guess like during COVID for the masks, we didn't even make masks anymore. It's like so like they were expensive to hell. I mean, granted, I don't after the fact I heard they don't work, and I'll probably agree with that, but I don't know your guys' opinion. But that's beside the
No,
point.
the COVID particles were smaller than the mask they recommended to us. Even the N95s, like, were kind
Yeah.
of.
It,
I was gonna say too. You guys remember that stat where since COVID, more than a quarter of the U.S. dollar has been printed, so 25% and more has been printed
I did
in
not
the
know
last.
about that.
Yeah, I'll find it. We can fact check it. But basically, people were saving since the 250 years of America. Or, I mean, if you want to count the Federal Reserve as as the new reset of that. But yeah, no, the U.S. dollar, more than 25% of it was printed during COVID. So let me get that real quick. I'll send it.
I mean, yeah, I mean, we printed a lot of money to bail out a lot of the companies because we did a economic bailout during COVID for like all these companies. So
And
that
we
wouldn't be surprising.
we weren't
Um,
able to track that. Wasn't that all kind of like lost, which is why we had to
Oh,
have like a
the PPP loans and shit.
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, well,
That
they
was
did.
great.
They did end up prosecuting some people because
The
those
Fall
people
Guys for sure.
they were taking those loans out and then never paying them back. So they were taking like 10, $12 million loans to pay payroll, and then just doing whatever they wanted with it because they laid people off and weren't paying them anyway. Actually, I think there was somebody pretty big that got in trouble for it. I'll have to think about it. It'll come to me at some point.
What? I don't know how much trouble they got into, but I mean, basically
It was like
waving the
restitution. Like they had to, the court forced them to pay it back.
oh, boo-hoo.
Dude, that shit sucks. You gotta pay $10 million? No way.
Yeah, when they probably doubled or tripled it in
Well,
that time. It's like, oh,
yeah.
boo-hoo. Yeah.
Oh no, I don't feel bad for them. I just think it's absurd that our government was like able to be taken advantage of like that, which is another issue with all the fraud we're seeing.
Well, I mean, we're a massive institution, so it's not that hard to do fraud. But
No.
at the same time, like, but there's no accountability
Yeah.
in a lot of cases. And like a lot of fraud actually runs through like shady, like the CIA probably runs through a lot of fraud in the US just to get their black funding, their funding for black ops or whatever. They do a lot of shady stuff to where they don't have to report this money so that they can do operations elsewhere. So there's a lot of shady stuff going on. A lot of, it's not just regular people that are like, I know how to defraud the system. It's like, a lot of people kind of are like looking to defraud it and then use that to benefit themselves. And it's not actually regular people more often than not. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying it's probably more on a top end fraud versus a bottom end fraud.
I agree. I mean, it feels like it's probably more politicians taking advantage of the system.
Well, it's the institution.
CIA, like
Yeah,
Black
the
Ops
institutions
programs.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard some like they, there's potential connect. I mean, if you wanted to go on a tangent, I've heard some potential like CIA connections with the Charlie Kirk people, the TPUSA stuff.
Yeah,
Like
didn't
there's
they say that bullet that we were supposed to be told that killed him wasn't actually the bullet that fits the gun?
Okay. So the issue is that they were running with that for a couple of days. What it came back was inconclusive. The test showed inconclusive. So it doesn't mean that it was, and it doesn't mean that it wasn't. It just means that they couldn't determine.
You can neither confirm nor deny, which is a very fun CIA.
I mean, I've kind
Yeah.
of looked into the Charlie Kirk thing, but I'd rather not go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I haven't really. I see random I think last week I had seen something that they claimed that it was the microphone and it wasn't a gun. So
Yeah,
there's
the microphone. The microphone was set to explode, like kind of an Israeli type thing that they've used in the past, which basically exploded.
Hit him in the neck.
Well, exploded and then did whatever. So it was a planned assassination to begin with. The other thing about the bullet, which is why that comes the thing, is because basically people online have basically been saying that the gun used would have blown his head off.
Oh,
if
he
got
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
That's basically what they're saying. And so like all of a sudden when they're like, yeah, this bullet didn't come from that gun, is what they said. It's like everybody's like, see? And it's like, yeah, that's probably true. Because I mean, I'm not a big gun expert guy, but basically what I'm hearing is basically if you got shot with that kind of rifle, basically it would almost decapitated him.
The gun, if it was a clean shot, it should have removed the entire back of like his spinal column and his neck, and his head probably should have came off.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But,
yeah, no, that's kind of what they said was, it creates such a thing to where it almost decapitate him. Like it might not fully decapitate him, but he would be, headless basically. Yeah. And I've seen the video of actually him getting shot.
Oh, it's awful. It's fucking horrific.
Yeah.
Yeah, and from what I saw, it's just like a small entry hole in his neck where the blood spurts out. So at first I thought that was basically an exit wound, because I'm like, why is blood coming out? Like, an entry wound, you'd figure everything got pushed in, and an exit wound, everything would get pushed out. I'm like, I'm not too much of a blood guy, so I could, that's just it's just like my mind of how physics work. Like, yeah, it could have got pushed in at first and then all of a sudden splurted out. But there's no exit wound, so that's kind of weird. Plus, also like the way he seized up, I'm like, it
Yeah.
seemed like his spinal column got hit, so that's why he couldn't like move.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I kind of was like, oh, the bullet went in and then hit his spine, and then that's why he kind of just seized up, like, because normally you'd expect like he gets shot in the neck, he'd like put his hand up to like stop the bleeding. He just kind of like started like shaking and then moving backwards. So I feel like something like
Failure. Yeah.
his spinal neck
Yeah, which
or
I don't
spinal column.
my so for a long time, which I'm sure everybody else probably thought this way, and actually I'd like to know what you guys thought. But my whole like first reaction with like all the conspiracy part of somebody else did it was how fake the video looked. Like I
Which
mean
video?
Oh yeah. They ran the AI and
and it
they
came back
Mhm.
0. So like it was a real video. I saw it everywhere. But just like how the blood like flowed, like how you were saying, like normally if you get shot, there's an
Oh,
exit wound. It
sorry.
would come out of the like exit wound.
I thought you were talking about the shooter video.
No,
Sorry.
like
That's a
no,
different
the
one.
video of him getting shot.
Yeah, okay.
Like the blood,
Mhm.
it looked like fake
Oh yeah.
blood. Like
No,
it
I
just
didn't
I
doubt that
saw it
one
and I
then.
was like, it looks like AI, which is probably why people are like, this is fake. Like something else happened. I because that video was off.
Mhm.
It genuinely made me sick to my stomach, and that's like the
No,
first time anything graphic like that has.
I didn't think it was fake either, but what I will say is, sorry, I know I'm jumping into it, but I know another video they posted about the shooter running on the roof. I'm pretty sure it was a shooter running on the rooftop, right? At least that was one of the ones that was leaked, right?
Well, no, basically, their story, as far as I'm aware, it's like he shot, took his time to unscrew his rifle, stick it back down his pants, then jumped off the building.
Hmm.
I
But the
mean, but we
video that
got
was going
video of him
around,
jumping off the building, but like, we
yeah.
don't have a video of the rifle or anything when he was jumping off. So it just seemed odd. Like
Hmm.
everything just seemed odd about the whole kit and caboodle, from
Yeah.
what I've seen. Like, there's just a lot of things that don't add up. And then, obviously, I joked in my head when it first happened. I'm like, the first person you usually suspect is the, wife, and then I'm hearing some shady stuff that she did before and after.
Oh
So it's,
yeah,
oh yeah,
she's got a whole past.
yeah, yeah. Like before it even happened, I was like, oh wow, like there's a lot of shady stuff. Like, because I guess she started becoming more involved in TPUSA than she originally was prior
Mhm.
to his death, which is odd. And then just kind of afterwards how like she transformed that whole organization like to something that doesn't resemble anything that TPUSA was originally, as far as I'm aware. But it's like the things that she did before and after are very weird. So it's like there's obvious suspicion. It's that's kind of why you can put some suspicion on her, like was she in on it type things.
Which not to I'm not gonna dox myself here, but when I was in college, I had correspondence with TPUSA in 2018 because I was like one of the founding members of our college Republicans,
Mhm.
and we set up an event where they sent out like a speaker to do um, like a speech event, which I don't know. I had always like not had an issue with them. They were very nice. The guy that they sent out was awesome. Like it was a good time. But I don't know. It TPUSA's been weird.
Well, they become a more fully Zionist organization.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Also, there's like some weird shenanigans with her, like potentially grooming people. Plus, like a lot of
Oh
she's surrounded
yeah, I
by a lot
forgot about that. Oh my god.
Mhm.
and then she's surrounded by a lot of people that have been accused of trafficking and underage girls and all kinds of stuff. Like she's surrounded by them, like
Yeah,
with all the like nonprofit organizations she's been around. It's
well,
kind of like weird.
I think her father has some weird allegations against him, doesn't he?
I have no idea. I just know her mom worked for the State Department. I think she considers somebody that's really close to her mother that they're like that was her handler. I mean, it's because they basically think that I mean she's a asset of some kind.
She's
So,
definitely an asset. There was a person that was following her and saying, what was she doing in between? And they found, sorry, that's my dog. They found that she was just a real estate agent in New York, and for that same company she was working. I'm so sorry for that same. Oh my, I'm gonna have to drop this. Hold on.
he keeps getting interrupted halfway through. It's like somebody's like, "Don't talk. Stop.
Yeah,
Stop.
listen,
Stop."
we might hear a gunshot in the background.
It's like oh no, no, cut this off. Cut this off. We can't have
We
this.
told you to shut
Uh,
the fuck up.
Actually, I retract that statement. She is totally fine. She is not a government spy. Yeah, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no. So someone's just digging into her history, and if why are you doing this? Okay,
Oh
I'm sorry.
no.
I won't talk about it anymore, I guess.
your house is bugged. They got to your dog.
Yeah. They're firing off radio signals. What are you doing? She's literally laying down on my bed sideways. Like, she's not even standing up.
Oh, they're hitting you with that electro gun they used on Venezuela.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let me try talking again. All right. So, anyway, so she was working as a real estate agent um, in New York, but that New York company was kind of tied to a person who was military connected. So it's kind of like if they should put up a shell company just so that they could say that she was, in between modeling, she was a real estate agent and not part of the, CIA, which a normal phrase when people who are in the CIA, they say, my someone said, don't say something that would make you look bad out of context, which is um, I only got that because one of the new ex-CIA guys who's been on podcasts, I think his name is like John Cake or something. I don't remember, but he said that is a phrase every CIA member is told when they're recruited.
Hmm. You mean John Kiriakou?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
I love that guy.
Yeah. Grab the hummus.
All right.
Ugh.
It's been an hour and 40 minutes. Are you guys good to wrap up?
I think we're good, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we went from everywhere to Iran to Ukraine to your mom to whatever else and TPUS.
Hollywood, the
Kennedy
Jews.
assassination and TPUSA.
Yeah, man, we
I
stayed
wouldn't
on
mind
top.
going into these. I wouldn't mind going to more of those quote unquote conspiracies. So far the conspiracists have been right on most of them.
Well, I mean, the problem, a lot of the problem is like when they label them conspiracies real quick, it's like, but there's like with the Charlie Kirk thing, it's like they basically were like, this is case closed, no questions asked. And it's like, well, we have a lot of questions. And
Mhm.
so it's like, then you start questioning the narratives and other things. And it's like, then obviously some things lead down to a rabbit hole that's like, how did you get to 2 + 2 = 5? And then, some of them are kind of like, huh, that makes sense. That's
Mhm.
possible.
And then
It
you get
just,
Alex Jones that go too far.
Yeah,
yeah, that's why.
when you're shutting things down, like it just pushes people further into, well, why?
Well, yeah,
Why?
that's what I mean. It's like,
Yeah.
case closed, no questions asked. And then like they don't really give any concrete answers to any of these questions. And like they don't really wrap things up very well either. It's kind of like,
Mhm.
Oh, they
And
so
the
tried
that
to wrap it
origin,
up like a bow.
yeah.
not really.
Well,
I mean, not even
They tried to. They found that gun same day in the woods. They found that dude's
well, one thing I
parents
heard about
turned him
that.
in and said, "Yep, he told us that he said he killed him."
Well, the one thing I heard about the gun was they had officers go by with, gun sniffing dogs in the area. And then when the FBI came through, they found the gun. I mean, so that's kind of odd.
Like planted.
Uh, that's what I mean by odd. It's
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mhm.
huh, you had gun sniffing dogs whose
And
job
they
it is to
didn't
sniff
find it.
out gunpowder, and they didn't find it, and they went through the area, but all of a sudden, you have some FBI agents randomly come up and find a gun. It's like that's odd. I mean, it's not implausible, but it's very odd.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's just a lot of other things. I guess like some of the like also like the email between him and his you know, boyfriend or whatever, like like, oh, I did it, but I never wanted to tell you this, and it just didn't sound
Oh,
like,
the texts were really
Oh yeah.
weird.
yeah, it didn't sound like anything a kid would say. It seemed like,
Mhm.
and then one person I watched today, he kind of mentioned it, referenced it. He's like, it sounded like a Shakespearean play type thing, like, thou shalt, like, da 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 da. It's
Well, I
like,
mean,
what?
I guess if somebody had like a severe mental illness that caused them to
Well,
murder somebody, maybe they do talk like that.
well, I'll say
Ah,
this. Sometimes they make them do that. And another thing I was gonna ask, because this is the same thing with, and I'm sorry to say this and bring up another conspiracy, but Pizzagate, that guy who shot that thumb drive, surprisingly didn't kill anybody else, but he had a case against him that was supposed to be death row or like something that was supposed to damage his brand. But they normally take these people and say, hey, you could either pull this crazy stunt and we'll give you less of a jail sentence, or we'll fine you and it'll be a lot worse. So that's where I think they sometimes make these people crazy, as they get this kind of dirt, mafia style. That's a typical thing. They pin one person to do something extremely stupid, and then it makes it easier to say that was the fall guy.
well,
Mm.
I
So that,
also heard like I guess some of the descriptions during the day of Charlie Kirk's assassination sounded more like his roommate slash boyfriend than it sounded like Charlie Kirk, or Robinson,
Oh,
or
Hmm.
like, so it's like, huh?
I
So
just
yeah,
guess that's
and
just
then
making a fall
also,
for it.
yeah, and also his boyfriend disappeared, like, vanished.
Oh, he
I'm sure.
resurfaced
oh,
recently. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't heard anything
I
about
didn't
that.
know that.
Yeah, actually I think I had seen it within the past week. He like resurfaced and somebody saw him at like a gas station.
Shit.
But he
So they probably,
looks
you guys
very
think they kind of
different.
like took him and like,
I
'cause that
think
could have
he
been a whole thing
I think
too.
he dropped the transgender stick.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, like, I mean, if you want to go down the rabbit hole, it's like, people think that Israel or the Zionist regime did it, and yeah, there's some, I'd say, some reasonable suspicion that you can go down that road, but like, I mean, to be quite honest, I wouldn't say Israel did it, but I'd say if it was true, then it would probably be like, probably some Zionists that kind of gave the green light, which obviously, some of these large donors have connections with Mossad, and Mossad has connections with the CIA. Also, these Zionist people probably have connections with the CIA, so it's
Yes, I
kind of
was.
hard for them to be able to like orchestrate something like this without like a government knowledge, and then the
Yeah.
government would, and then easily the government will cover it up because they use government
I was gonna
agents.
say, this is a different tactic that most Central Intelligence don't use, but Mossad actually uses, like not actual connected actors, but they are loyal to Israel and Mossad on their own. They like what the Mossad had at the time in the 1980s. They said they had about more than 16,000 agents, but not actually like signed up and registered. They are just free actors for Mossad. More than
Yeah, yeah.
60,000 from doctors, lawyers, just doing it. So when Charlie Kirk got killed, obviously you got some people saying I did it, and they were just
Well, there
doing that
was
to.
Oh, the guy
well,
with
there
the
was one guy that got
CP.
paid. I
Mhm.
guess there was one guy that got paid to like take down his pants and be like, "Oh, I did it to confuse the people," and
Yes,
blah blah
yeah.
blah.
Mhm.
And he even admitted that he got paid to do that.
Oh, he did.
And then,
I didn't see that. No,
Yeah.
that guy he ended up getting arrested because they found CP on his phone.
This is the shit I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
well, I mean, that was probably after the fact, probably
Well,
after
no,
he
it
admitted.
was when they went and booked him and then figured out that he wasn't like actually the guy who did it. They like searched him, and when they searched his phone, they found child exploitation images.
Yeah.
Ah,
Or what I was going, the rabbit hole I was going down is he started basically saying that some people hired him, and then they got told, "Oh, this guy, here's some stuff on this guy," and then they're like, "Oh,
oh
okay."
yeah.
They could have, yeah, they could have
Yeah,
planted
Yeah.
that
yeah,
phone.
basically because
Mhm.
the guy was going to crack under pressure, so then they kind of added, basically to make his thing even more implausible. It's like, we're just going to staple this onto him. So,
That is always a good cop
'cause, I
out.
mean, that's kind of the one thing they do use to like kind of make people seem like crazy people is like they'll put CP on their computers and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not saying always. I'm just saying that is one way they've
Oh yeah, they really get
they've
them.
yeah, that's one way they kind of like entrap people and make sure that they don't have anything after that.
Well,
And
I
you
mean, you
know,
can really shut them up too, because once they get to jail, like those are the people that get murdered in prison because of like what their charges are. Like
Yep.
yeah,
other prisoners will just kill them for you. You don't even have to do anything.
Mm-hmm. It's the age-old law. Cause like, do you want to go to jail as a child molester, or child? Like, do you know what they do to you? Like, yeah, it's a death sentence. Cause even criminals, like, I think we all understand that criminals protect the innocents like that.
Oh yeah.
well, it's more or less it's just like protecting children. So it's like
Yeah.
most people are kind of like, ugh, like you're gonna fuck children like that, like fuck people up like that, like children. It's like, ugh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So yeah,
of like what is awful, that is the top of awful. And
Mm-hmm.
the people in prison, they don't mess with anybody that messes with kids or like elderly people,
No.
oh yeah, did
just
you
because
guys
they
ever
can't
hear about?
defend themselves.
Did you guys ever hear about the Israeli like minister that got caught in LA trying to solicit like an underage girl?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then like
Yeah.
he
Surprised me.
fled, and then
Got nothing.
like well they let him off because he's like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to meet so and so, and then he went back to Israel, and it's like I guess he's doing it's probably he already did it, his like thing over the phone, his trial over the phone.
All he had to say was "Oy vey," and they uncuffed him.
Yeah, essentially.
Well, he was like, oh, I had a meeting with the CIA and da 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 da. Like,
Oh yeah, like Epstein. Like, oh, I'm part of intelligence. Let me off easy.
yeah,
I'm above
That's
your
the
pay
mindset.
grade.
Same mindset. Yeah.
and then yeah, Epstein, that whole rabbit hole with Israel and all that fun jazz.
We'll have to do a full episode on Epstein only. That's
Well,
way
yeah,
We
too
I'm
much.
just
please
saying his
Epstein,
connection.
Hollywood. Oh, and the history of the Zionist movement. I have notes tying the Rothschilds to creating that. And Karl Marx was a Zionist. Do you guys know that? Very prominent figure in history.
I did not. I figured he would have
Communist.
been anti-religion.
No, see, and everyone knew Karl Marx was rich. So if we're following the pattern of wealthy people trying to propagate other people, and obviously the Rothschilds are known to overthrow the Romanov family. I don't know if you guys heard that one, but um that is a confirmed fact. I'm gonna have to find for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, all I know is the Civil War and the communists took over.
Hmm.
I mean,
But
obviously, I don't know much about the Rothschilds.
oh, it's a whole thing. But I
Oh, I heard they're a very prominent family. They own banks, etc.
They own
They founded
the
Israel,
banking
etc.
system.
they own the
Yeah,
banking system, yeah, and even J.P. Morgan and the Rothschilds, when the Federal Reserve was coming out, they got together to buy out the U.S. debt. So if they can buy out the U.S. debt, it's monopoly money at that point for them. Because
yeah,
they're basically just they had a bunch of assets to buy out the debt and be able have the U.S. have the ability to continue running the way they should. That sounds stupid to say. Um, I don't know if I'm making sense at this point, but basically they're able to give the capital the U.S. needed to keep on running without falling into a Great Depression at that time.
yeah. I mean,
1913. Sorry, that's the time. 1913.
yep.
That's
My 1900s history is more probably World War II and World War One, and Vietnam.
ooh, definitely tie those. Okay, yeah, sorry. I realize I'm kind of being choppy on that, but the next episode will make more
Yeah,
sense.
you're like I'm finding more links.
No, I will connect
Connecting all
them.
the neural pathways right now.
Yeah,
That's my
yeah.
ADHD, guys. I'm so sorry.
It's like I see the pattern now. I see it.
I'm Alex Jones, rebirth. Fuck no. Fuck no. But no, I and hold on, Mr. Monkey, do you know have you heard about the whole Titanic sinking with do you
Yes.
know about yeah,
Yeah,
see
and it
that
actually
yeah.
wasn't the Titanic. Was it called the Olympic?
Oh, okay, okay. The Titanic was based off of the Olympic, okay.
Yeah, but what they did was for insurance money, they sunk the Olympic after they painted Titanic on the side of it. So the
Mhm.
maiden voyage of the Titanic was actually just the last voyage of the Olympic.
Yeah, and then the people who are opposed to a central bank of
Oh, they were
America.
all on it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Sorry, Evan. These are the. Oh,
Dude,
sorry.
they
Fuck.
killed like 50 birds with one stone, and they got the insurance money.
Exactly. So yeah, these are the things we can go down
So
the rabbit hole
you're
in the next
basically saying they
episode.
didn't run into an uh iceberg.
Yeah. Well, they
No.
did, but they did it on purpose.
Yeah. JP Morgan was supposed to be on that boat and he never got on the last second, leaving them vulnerable. And then on Chris, and then that
Well,
following year,
what
on
did
around
out of curiosity did the captain of the ship um go down with the ship? Because I'm pretty sure
no,
he
he
did.
survived. He was on
No,
one of
no,
those.
the captain. No, he refused to leave the ship. He went
Wait,
down with
really?
it. Yes.
Yeah. That's why
Oh,
it's
okay
kind of
then.
hard to have an inside job when the captain's not a part of it.
Okay then. Well, perhaps it wasn't even the captain. It was probably like servants below,
I mean,
like
the only person
agents.
you can have, like, I mean, granted, the one person that can foil the captain is the guy on watch to watch for like icebergs.
Dude,
Like,
Yeah.
what if they said, "Hey, captain, we'll pay for the rest of your family's lives. Anything they want, you go down with that ship."
That
Because
way he can
then
stay
I mean, it
secret.
he's
depends
the
on how bad his life
he's
is. I
the
mean,
only no, no, it doesn't. Okay, you're telling me that right now, like if you're I don't know what captains were making back then, but let's just say it's not awesome. Like he's doing just fine. And they're like, "Hey, we'll make sure your daughter goes to Oxford. We'll make sure that your wife never has to work a day in her life. She has fresh food every day." And you
What?
like
all
you
right, come
would
on,
do it.
Angelo, use your
Well,
ADHD to figure this out. You're coming up with connections all the way.
see, well, another thing that could be easy is that they were probably on a, they were like coordinating saying, "Hey, this iceberg is like 4 knots this way. Let's make sure to steer away from it." Oh no, the engines failed. Who did that? Like I'm thinking like something more simple than that, where the captain's out of control and the captain feels responsible.
What the most simple is that the only person in on it was the captain. His family was being paid off. He said,
Well, that's
"Oh,
one scenario.
iceberg, steer into it."
You'd have a much easier chance to like have some of the crew involved in it than you would probably the captain.
That's what I'm thinking.
The captains are pretty attached to their ships,
Yeah,
so they're not going to be
probably more
like,
than their family. I'm
So
kidding. I'm
attached to it,
kidding.
he'd go down with it to never leak the secret.
Well, what if he didn't know about the secret?
yeah. Like,
He was so full of guilt that he couldn't save anybody else,
I
so
mean,
he
'cause
felt
it'd be much
responsible.
easier for him to survive the sinking and get the money and live with his family than it would be to, you know,
Because it's more
you know.
trouble mafia style. If somebody knew something that they shouldn't have known, if they didn't have to, like again, like just destroy the engine or whatever they needed, so the wheel couldn't correct the path. That's what I'm thinking.
It could have. I'm just
Yeah, I
thinking
mean,
it's easier to get away with something if there's only one moving part rather than 15 moving parts.
That's true.
well,
Yeah.
it goes more smoothly when you have more than one moving part.
Mm-hmm.
I
Unless
mean,
the only
because
moving part you have is steering the ship.
Until
You
it
can
yeah,
make it go wherever you want.
yeah. But you got to remember, you also have like second commands. You've got other people around you, so it's not
Oh
like
yeah.
it's
Fair
not like you're
point.
just
They could
Yeah, I
fire
forgot
in,
about
like
that.
tackle and be like,
isolation.
"Yo, that's an iceberg."
Yeah. And also, from my understanding, it got hit from under the sea. So it actually didn't get hit from the side; it got hit from under the sea. So it's not. It was part. It was stuff that they couldn't see, is what they got hit by.
Or so they say.
The
I'm kidding.
captain had
Yeah.
water vision.
Well,
he
no. All
can
of a
he
sudden,
can see everything under the water.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, but like obviously, you saw the movie. You saw them actually hit the iceberg.
Right. Yeah, it didn't actually
Yeah.
happen like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, but like, I mean, I don't think that there's this massive like whatever. I mean, because it's pretty simple explanations. The Titanic was a main voyage, like it had rich clientele. It wouldn't be surprising if a bunch of rich clientele went on it and died. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So like it's like, oh, like all these prominent people went on this rich cruise and ended up dying.
Oh no,
Ooh.
I agree. I don't think there actually was anything fishy about it.
Yeah.
I'm just like it. it would be probably the best like story if there was a conspiracy. Because of
Yeah.
like everything that happened, like pulling that off would be some shit.
Well, it also depends on like what kind of shenanigans were these people into. Like, was this cabal of people on the ship like trying to go against somebody? I mean, that would be the only reason why.
Well, I
I
mean, like you said, it was
For
all the
that.
rich, like powerful people. They're going on this boat that's extremely elegant, like luxurious, like revolutionary in
Mhm.
like what is like a cruise ship for its time. And then
Yeah.
it wrecks the first voyage, killing the majority of passengers.
hmm And again, these were some of the figures that were supposed to be against a central bank. Later that year, many people who were, and this is during Christmas time, so not many congressionals were able to vote in Christmas, but the Federal Reserve Act in 1913 was passed with only 55 votes, I believe. So you were able to have a centralized bank after prominent figures. I don't remember their names, but they were on that Olympic boat, and they were heavily opposed to it, even in the articles. So it was widely known that they were opposed to it. And then it was known that they were on that ship that Morgan was supposed to be on as well because he was supposed to talk with him, but he wasn't, and it sunk. So that's where it gets a little weird.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Unless there's like something for somebody to take advantage of, like the Fed. But like, yeah. I mean, I think it'd be easier to get them to change the votes than it would be to kill them all, or like deter them, deter them.
Oh yeah.
I
Okay.
mean,
So
plus
do
also
we?
it'd be easier just to kind of make sure that they just disappear rather
Yep.
than destroy an entire boat.
Yeah. Alrighty. All right. So do we know any topics we would want to talk about for next week? I know we were talking about Hollywood, some of the
Listen,
Rothschilds.
I think since we brought it up, we've got to go Epstein next week.
Yes. Yep.
I think we've got to go Epstein and the connection
Yeah, we're
Detroit.
to
going. Yeah, we went
Mossad.
from Iran to never talking about Iran.
Hey, we did like a little bit.
We
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Yeah.
In the essence of Israel, um, to from Israel to like random conspiracies that potentially could be connected to Israel, to uh, Ukraine. You
Now
know,
Israel sunk the Titanic.
yeah, yeah. And then the
Oh
Rothschilds,
god.
which is the founders of freaking whatever, and the Titanic. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, we don't have Israel on the brain at all.
No, God
No.
no. And it
Because Israel
definitely
is
won't be on
definitely a
our brain
state at
next
the
week.
time. Yeah.
And then talking about Epstein, it's like, oh man, this isn't a theme.
Yeah. What is this? This is brand new. I've never seen this.
Yeah, how much can we dump onto Israel in one take? Go.
Oh, it's probably gonna be a three-parter
Oh
Oh,
man.
trilogy.
We'll have to record it next Saturday and just go all day. 8 hours, Epstein.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I mean, how
Ooh.
sidetracked we got so much today
Oh boy, yeah. All
because
right.
we talked everything in their mother. It seems like.
All right. Thank you guys for joining Honest Hours, supported by our 9 to 5s.